In this video, I'm going to show you how you can build a registration page for Django as well as have notification events on user activity. Join me now on this DevOps journey. Alright, so I'm going to start us off by adding a sign-in page here. So I'm going to hop back into the code editor and I'm going to go under Website, Templates, and Top Menu. And I'm going to make a change to that top menu here. I'm going to take this Login button and I'm going to duplicate it. And instead of going to Login, I'm going to call it Sign Up. And I will call this Sign Up. And I'm going to change the Bootstrap outline. Instead of success, I'm going to put info. And you can look this up on Bootstrap's website. Basically, there's different types of button colors you can use. They have info, success, warning, alert, HTML. And then if I go underneath my templates, registration, I'm going to do new file, signup.html. And if you don't have that registration folder already, just go ahead and create it. And I'm just going to leave this HTML template blank right now. We'll go ahead and add our templating into it later. But now that I have the button and the view function, now we need to add a URL pattern. So let's go to our main blog, URLs, and let's grab one of these. So this welcome path should work for us. And we're going to call this sign up and just sign up for everything. And this isn't resolving, so we need to import it. So from website.views, import welcome and sign up. There we go. That should be enough to get this running. I'm going to open a terminal. And I don't have my virtual environment enabled, so let me go back a directory. And I have a script that enables my virtual environment. I just type run and it enables it. If you're interested in learning how to set an alias like this, just let me know in the comments below. So now that that's enabled, let's go into the blog and run our server. So Python manage run server. And start it up, refresh, and now we have a sign up button, and we click it and we get a blank page. Perfect. Now we can start building up the view function as well as the template. So I'm going to downsize this, and top menu's done, URLs is done. Now we have views and sign up. So our sign-up's going to need to take in some post data. And we set up a similar function before under our post app. So let's go under posts and then views there. And it's going to be very similar to this one right here, the new. So I'm going to copy this and paste it below. And we're just going to repurpose some of this code. So we're going to want this line. And basically this is saying if the request is a post, do something. And then else, we want to set the form to a blank form object. So I'm going to call my form user register form. And we haven't created this form yet, but we're going to create that next and import it into here. So we'll just have that. And let's put this up here as well. But if it receives post data, we want to fill it out with the post data. So request.post will be its parameters. So pretty simple so far. If the request method is post, then we're going to fill out the form with the post data. Else we're going to have a blank form. Now let's go ahead and test the basics. I'm going to create this basic form, but before I do that, let's comment this out. And then I'm going to go over here to website, and I'm going to do a new file and call it forms.py. Now at the top of this, I'm going to paste some code here, and I'm basically bringing in the Django default forms. I'm bringing in the auth model of user, and the auth app also has a generic form called user creation form. And I'm going to take this in and modify it a bit to my new form, which I've called user register form. So I'll go class user register form, and for the input of that, I'm going to take this user creation form. And I'm just going to put pass here for now, and we'll complete this later, because I think you'll have a better idea of what we're actually doing here if we show what the application looks like right now. So let's go back into our app and hit sign up, and now we're getting the error user register form is not defined. So we have this created in forms.py, but we haven't imported it to our view. So let's go from .forms import user register form. And we're doing .forms because forms.py is in the local directory. So that looks good. Now let's refresh. Then we're getting a blank page, so we need to add a few things to our template. But before we add to our template, we should make sure that we send our form to it. So I'm going to say in a dictionary, say form : form. So we're basically giving the variable form the value of this object, which is the user register form. So now let's go into our signup.html. And in here, we're going to do what we usually do for our templates, and that's to extend our base.html. And then we have some block content. So let's have the tags here, block content, and then within the block content we're going to have our actual page. The first thing we want to do is create a form. And the method we want is to be post. And we'll end up, and then we'll end this form. And for every form in Django, we always need to set a CRF token. So we'll put that in there. And basically, to display the form, you just need this tag, form. Now that should be enough to get started. Let's go ahead and refresh. And it looks like our server needs to be restarted here, so let's restart it. Looks like it's up. Let's go back into it, refresh, and we get here, and this is what our form looks like, so it's a little bit ugly. Let's go ahead and fix it up. One thing that I notice is everything is pushed to the left, so let's go ahead and fix that. I'm going to go into our code, and I'm going to go into base, and I'm going to add a new div here right along the block content, and I'm going to go div class equals container. I'll indent these lines, and then I'm going to end the div. And this is going to push everything out to the middle a bit, and that looks a little bit better, but we still have all this garbage here, and things aren't aligned. Like the passwords out here, passwords over here, usernames here, and also it's not prompting us for an email. So let's go into our form, and we can correct a few of these things right away. So I'll go back into forms.py, and I want the email field. So I'll go email equals forms.email field. And basically this is taking from Django Forms and creating an email field. The next thing I'm going to do is create a meta class and go model equals user, and then fields equals username, email, password 1, password 2. And the reason we have password 1 and password 2 is you have your first time you input your password and then your confirmation password. So that looks good. Now if we go in here and refresh, and then I have a typo here, it's saying fields, but I put field, so I'll correct that and restart the server. And now we're ready to go back in, refresh. Now we see email, password, username. So we got that, but we still have all this garbage here telling us the requirements. If you want to hide that, you need to add this line of code. And I'm just going to copy and paste the code here, as you don't really need to memorize this. But basically we're setting the init and taking in the register form and going through each of the field names and setting the help text to none. And by setting them to none, they're not going to show up anymore. So if we go back in and refresh, you can see that all the help text is gone, but our form is still pretty ugly here. Let's fix this through the templating. I'll go back in, and one thing you can do is go form, and then we can start using a form templating scheme called Crispy. And basically this is going to make our forms look a lot prettier than they currently are. But you'll notice that if I go in here and refresh, we get an error, and that's because it doesn't know what Crispy is. So this is a third-party add-on that needs to be added. So before we can even begin to use it, we need to install it. So I'm going to go pip install Django-crispy-forms. So it looks like I already had it installed when I was testing, but likely you guys will need to install it yourself. So just make sure that you go pip install Django Crispy Forms. Once you have it installed, you need to enable it in your application. So we do that through the settings.py. And under installed apps, this is where we're going to add it. And we'll simply go Crispy Forms. That looks good. Now the last thing that we need to do is we need to go up to our sign up, and we can't just start using Crispy, we need to load the Crispy forms. So up here I'm going to make sure that we do load Crispy forms tags. And that should get us going. So let's start our server now. And now when we go in and refresh, we can see that everything is lined up nicely. Much better than before. So I'm actually just going to pause the video and add a little bit more flair here. Alright, so we're back here. And you can see that I've added a legend and a submit button. So let's go back into our page. And we can see this gives our page a lot more life, but if we go and try to sign up, it's not going to actually let us sign up because we're not doing anything with the form data yet. So let's go back into our views.py, and now we need to actually create the logic to take this form data and put it into our database. So I'm just looking below here, and it's going to be very similar to this. It's basically going to be the exact same code. We're going to go if form.is_valid, Then we're going to do a form.save. And basically this is just checking to see that you have the right information in your form. It doesn't go against any of the constraints, and if the data is valid, it's going to save it to the database. After that, we don't want to end up on the sign up page again, otherwise it's going to confuse the user. So let's redirect the user. And we do that by doing return redirect. And the redirect is just going to be to here. And this is going to redirect them to the home page. This is underlined, so that means I haven't imported it. So I'm going to go redirect. And this should be enough to get us going. So let's try signing up. We'll go back into our page. We'll go test user at example.com. Paste in a password here and hit sign up. And there we go. We're signed up. Now, two things I notice here. After we signed up, it didn't log us in. We'll want to make it so it actually logs in our user after we sign up. And also, it would be nice to have some sort of notification that we've signed up. So let's go ahead and add those two things now. Alright, so we're back in views.py underneath website, and we're going to start off with adding in the authentication and login to our sign up module. This way when users sign up, they'll automatically be authenticated and logged in. So I'm going to import two things here from the auth app. I'm going to import authenticate and login. And then underneath my sign up function, after the form is submitted and we've verified that the form is valid and saved it to the database, we're going to authenticate the user, and then after they're authenticated, we're going to use the login module. So I'm going to say new underscore user equals authenticate, and then I'm going to pass in the username and password. So I'll say username equals, and then password equals. And the username and the password we're going to get from this form. So we'll say form username. And we can't actually just send username. We want to clean this data. So we're going to say dot cleaned underscore data. And this should work. I'll copy and paste this over here and just save it as password. And let's go on a new line. So that looks a little bit better. So we have a new user object that has authenticated the new username and password. And this should actually be password 1 because the fields are password 1 and password 2, not just password. So that should be good. The next thing we're going to do is do login. And then we're just going to pass in the request and the new user object. So it'll authenticate an object called new user and then log in that new user. So let's go ahead and start our server. So server is started. I'm going to create a new account. And we can see that we are logged in because we have the logout button and it says test2, but still I would like to make this even better and add a notification message when we create a new user. So let's log out and let's get back into our code. So to add a notification when a new user is created, we're going to make use of the messages module, and we're going to implement this throughout all our app, so when the user does any type of interactive activity like creating a new post or deleting a post, signing in, or logging off, we're going to give an alert. So let's start off with the sign up page, and down here we have all our logic when after a user is created, what it's going to do. So this is when we're going to give the message. So we'll go messages.success, and then we're going to send it the request, And then I'm going to use an F string here. F strings are commonly used in Python when you want a string that also contains a variable. So I'm going to say account created for username, and I'm going to template this username. And then for the username, I'm just going to steal this right here, and I'm actually going to put it up here, and I'll just say username. Since we're using this variable multiple times, I want to define it up here and then put it into that line of code as well as this one here. So that looks good. Now we should get a message, but this module isn't imported yet, so let's import the module. So we'll go from Django.contrib import messages. So now we have the logic for creating a message, but we don't have a way of displaying it. So we need to update our templates. So I'm going to go into our base template here, since I want the alerts to show up no matter which page I'm on, and this is where I'm going to put in the logic for it. And I'm actually just going to paste in the code. So I want it within my container here before the block content of the actual other templates. So we'll put that right there. Take out this line, and basically this is saying if the message's variable exists, it's going to iterate through every message, and it's going to do an alert for that message, and the alert type is going to be message.tags, so that's going to match this success one. And all this formatting is Bootstrap templating. So if you look at Bootstrap, you can see the code for getting this div in there. The only thing that we're really interested in regards to Django is going through this loop and then taking in the variable and setting things up. So now that that's set up, let's try creating a new user. So I'll sign up. We'll go test3. And then sign in. And Chrome's giving me a little pop-up, but I won't worry about that. But we see the message here, account created for test3. So that's a nice little indicator that we actually did something. And we can close that off as a user. Oh, but it looks like it's not closing off. So let's troubleshoot this on the fly. I'm going to hit F12. And I can see an error here. And yeah, this error has probably been in our code for quite a while. Since we haven't really been making use of JavaScript, we haven't noticed it. But closing this window does take some jQuery, and it's saying that the jQuery needs to happen before Bootstrap's JavaScript. So we can fix that in our base.html. Let's hop back in. And here we have Font Awesome, we have Bootstrap JavaScript, Bootstrap CSS, but we don't have anything for jQuery. So I'm just going to grab a template here. I'm going to put in a new line before the Bootstrap JavaScript and paste this in. And basically it's just a script with the source, and it's pointing to ajax.google APIs, and this is our jQuery. You can just Google for this and it'll give you the URL that you should be using. It's also available in the GitHub in the description below. But that JavaScript's in now, so let's go and refresh. And we're actually going to have to create a new user. Okay, so we got the notification, and now when we hit the X, it goes away. Perfect. So we fixed our JavaScript and we got an alert. Now let's implement this into all the other aspects of our application. So we want it when you log out, we want it when you delete a post, and when you create a post. And we want views.py for website as well as views.py for post. And we're going to copy this line right here and put it into our views.py for posts. And now let's go through all our other functions. Let's grab this. So sign up, that looks fine. Delete. Let's add this here. And say post deleted. And then here we'll say post created. And again, you can make this a little more advanced if you want, and take in a variable to show the post name when you're deleting it or when you're creating it. But I'm just going to keep it simple for us. So let's test it out now. Let's delete a post here. So I'll go delete post, and it says post deleted. And actually, instead of it showing up green when you delete the post, let's make it show up yellow. So very simple to change. We just need to hop in, and instead of success, we'll go warning for the tag. And then this will use the Bootstrap warning color scheme, which is yellow. So we go back in and delete the post. Came up green. And the reason it did that was for new posts, so let's change that back to success, and then change this to warning. So now when we create the post, it's going to be green, but when we delete it, it's going to be yellow. Go post. Create it. And so post created, and then let's delete it. Post deleted. Very nice indication, and you can add this to all the functions in your app if you want. Very simple to do. Anyways, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, smash that like button. If you didn't find the video helpful at all, go ahead and hit the thumbs down. In our next video, I'm going to show you how we can integrate our Django app with a real live database instead of using the SQLite database file that we've been using. So I think a lot of you are going to find that interesting. After that, I'm going to show you how we can get this on a live Linux environment and start Dockerizing our application. So anyone in the DevOps world will be pretty happy to see a video like that. So if you're interested in that, I hope to see you in the next videos.